For today's episode, Brian will be acting as the narrator, and Anne and I will be acting as Princess Mia Luna Tearmoon and the maids. After Princess Mia Luna Tearmoon was executed at the guillotine, she awoke, thinking it was just a vivid dream. Now a young girl again, Mia is relieved to be back and reconsiders her past actions, including firing a chef for serving her vegetables. She discovers a diary stained with the memories of her dream, confirming it wasn't just a dream. But in reality, it was her future and how she has a hot date with Guillotine-kun. And without further ado, let's hit the intro. Hmm? Whose voice was that?
After the meal, Mia moved to the salon in the aerial observatory. Even though it's an aerial garden, it doesn't really float. It is built on the roof of White Moon Palace, a little overhanging on the walls. The garden, which was created by collecting various beautiful flowers from within the country, was a magnificent place that is a perfect place for entertaining royalties from other kingdoms. She walked around the garden for a while and enjoyed the beautiful scent of flowers, but the thoughts in Mia's head did not clear up. There's something she really has to remember, but that precious memory seems to be clouded by a veil of fog, and she can't reach it no matter how hard she tries.
I know what the problem is. I haven't had sweets. Mates, bring me some sweets, will you?
Mia clapped her hands as she expected the sweets that were denied to her earlier. She sat at the table seat near the corner of the garden and waited for a while. Then she saw a young maid coming. Seeing what she was carrying, Mia's eyes went wide with anticipation.
Gracious moons, could that be?
A cake. It was a cake. An ordinary shortcake with plenty of cream and plenty of strawberries on top.
It's been a long time since I've eaten cakes. Cakes! Cakes and cakes!
It wasn't only after she was captured and spent her days in the dungeon, but even by the time that the Empire's finances deteriorated, she was no longer able to eat cakes. Naturally, the sight of one sent her to the moon. Oh, I'm sorry to have kept you waiting. Before Mia's eyes, the maid tripped. Of course, the cake was sent flying, and as if in slow motion, the cake passed in front of Mia, who could do nothing to stop it. The cake crashed into the floor. It somehow retained a bit of its shape, but the real catastrophe was just coming. The maid fell on top of it and completely crushed the cake. Mia was at a loss for words.
Hey, Anne, what are you doing?
An elder maid who watched the whole scene from the sidelines rushed in an uproar.
I'm deeply sorry, Your Highness. Are you injured?
Mia was shocked and stunned, but soon she regained her composure and smiled.
No, I'm fine. Thank you.
In the past, Mia would have raged and cursed at the maid. However, after enduring a painful life in prison, Mia's kindness now ran deeper than a cake plate, and her heart was broader than a teacup. In other words, she had acquired sufficient patience to avoid being deemed selfish, though perhaps not quite enough to be considered magnanimous. Still, this was big growth. Yet, people do grow up, even if it's slower than a turtle. A snail, but Mia is growing. Okay, so even now, Mia wore a smile, although a bit strained.
It doesn't matter much. Just bring another cake. More importantly, is that poor girl okay?
She's grown much to the point that she can now afford to care for her maids. Besides, there's not really a problem if they can just bring her a replacement cake.
I'm terribly sorry, Your Highness. That was the only cake we had for today.
And just like that, she snapped. Before a ruined cake, Mia's tolerance was as useless as a video game controller operating a submarine. After all, the cake business is serious. She hasn't had one for so many years, so between common sense and cake, the cake will always win.
You! Come, kneel on the spot! My cake! How dare you do this to me? You! Look at me!
The young maid trembled before Mia, who was stomping her foot. Before Mia was a girl in her mid-teens, probably a few years older than Mia. She has red hair that was covered with fresh cream, thin Freckles dotted the tip of her nose, and her blue round eyes glistened with tears. It was a face that was more cute than beautiful. Regardless, she lacked the dignified aura of nobility. She was more like a simple, cute girl that was common in villages.
You!
When Mia saw her face, a vivid memory came back to her. It was a memory from the worst day of her life, her execution day. At that time, she had been alone in her dungeon, waiting for her inevitable fate to come. In that dim and cold dungeon, Mia was alone, holding her knees on her chest, waiting for that time to come. It has been 2 years since Mia was imprisoned. The servants who catered to her during the first few weeks have all gone now. They disappeared when they realized that Mia would never return to power. It was then that Mia's loneliness would begin. However, there was an exception. "Your Highness, I've come to do your hair." It was Anne, a young maid with red hair. Anne arrived and bowed politely to the soldier standing guard. Then she steps into the prison. Though Mia was already numb to it, but the smell of the prison was terrible. The foul odor was similar to the slums. However, Anne does not hesitate at all and lowers herself behind Mia. Then she produces a comb that she kept in her pocket. She started combing Mia's unruly hair. Not being able to wash for days, her hair resisted Anne's combing, but Anne patiently and carefully combed her hair until no strands could be found. "I'm sorry, Your Highness, I have never been good with the comb."
Why are you still devoted to me?
Quiet words escaped from Mia's mouth. After being imprisoned in this dungeon, Anne had been visiting her every 2 or 3 days. She devoted herself to taking care of Mia. Sometimes she would bring snacks or water and a washcloth to wipe Mia's body, knowing that Mia couldn't take a bath. But Mia never really understood why. Mia is the daughter of the Emperor, so many people follow her in order to gain profit. But the maid in front of her, Anne, clearly wasn't one of them. If anything, Anne was the one who suffered from Mia's selfishness. Just to be clear, Mia wasn't a tyrant. Well, if Anne blundered, Mia would give her a mouthful, or sometimes if she was really angry, she would punch, kick, or even headbutt her. It was at this point that Mia realized that headbutts might not have been a suitable behavior for a lady of her noble status. But that was it, nothing more. She never ordered her soldiers to whip anybody, nor ordered anybody to be executed, because those things seemed to hurt, and Mia wasn't a fan of anything that hurts. But she wasn't a good princess either. Aside from those with a fetish, no one really wants to be abused or kicked. Her other maids, therefore, had no reason to devote themselves to her, especially after her fall, but the maid in front of her was different.
"I've not been good to you, never treated you well. Rather..."
"Yes, I was hit a lot, and you also kicked me a few times." Anne smiled nostalgically and said, "Do you know, Your Highness, your kick doesn't hurt at all."
"What? Is that so?"
"Yes, compared to the times when I had fights with my younger brothers, it's nothing." Foo-foo. Then Anne went quiet, and there was a pensive silence between them. "The reason I keep on taking care of you, Your Highness, is that I could not leave you alone. That's it." Mia noticed that Anne was smiling at her gently. But their moment of calm did not last long. Soldiers arrived to bring Mia to the guillotine. Before Mia was taken away, she turned to Anne and bowed deeply.
"Now I can reward your loyalty, so please forgive me, who can only say thank you."
The next moment, Mia's body was wrapped in warmth. "I pray for God's blessing on you, Your Highness." She realized that Anne had hugged her, and even a stranger realization was that tears were falling from Mia's eyes. She has never been hugged since her captivity. Anne's overflowing kindness and warmth flowed through Mia's body, but there was also a change of regret. The fact that she could not repay this maid's undying loyalty to her was an ache in her heart, and a scar in her soul that would remain as she makes her way to the guillotine.
"I remember now."
Mia quietly kneeled beside Anne, who was still on the floor apologizing.
"Your Highness, you look cream on your dress. Silence!"
Mia rebuked the maid around her before gently lifting Anne up by her shoulders.
"Miss Anne, please rise."
I'm really sorry, Your Highness."
"I'm not angry.
With that said, Mia's smile was soft and gentle.
Now, stand up. You really aren't injured, right?"
"Yes, thank you very much." Anne was bewildered by Mia as she was pulled up, but Mia was steady and she looked at the maid.
Now I can repay your loyalty.
Then she declared in a formal tone,
Let it be known, henceforth, you shall be my maid in waiting. You shall serve me exclusively and shall be responsible for my daily affairs.
Eh? Your Highness? The surrounding maids around Mia were all upset. The princess's maid-in-waiting was a very honorable position that was coveted by all the maids who were serving in the castle. It is very rare. No, it is totally unheard for a commoner to take on that role. It is usually given to the second or third daughter of upper nobility. Also, most importantly, it commands a higher salary. It is nearly double than that of a regular maid, and for Anne, who was a newcomer, it was nearly 3 times. It came as a shock to everybody, not just because Anne was a commoner, but also because she wasn't really that good as a maid. In fact, she was scatterbrained. Her sudden selection attracted hostility from almost all the other maids. However, Mia proudly declared this with a smile.
From now on, Anne is my exclusive maid. She'll be under my patronage. Everyone, please think about what that means.
With that announcement, it snuffed out any future harassment. It was a reminder of her power and authority. After all, it is the direct nomination of Princess Mia, who is known for her selfishness. They know the fate of their fellow maids who were fired just because of the princess's whims, so they were not willing to take the risk of harassing Anne.
Miss Anne, about what we have said before.
From that day on, the relationship between Anne and the senior maids have changed. Instead of bullying her, they were extremely kind to her. It was great help since she was clumsy, but it still made Anne a little uncomfortable. It's great because I get a raise in my salary, but not knowing why this happened made her feel uneasy. Even more, Princess Mia was known to be selfish who fired maids on a whim. This made her feel more uncomfortable. If someone was kind to her for no reason, it can't be helped that Anne is a little scared, so Anne decided to be brave and ask. That day, Mia was sitting on a bedside chair in her room reading an old diary. Mia has been spending a lot of time reading that book nowadays. I wonder if it's the diary of someone famous. Your Highness, why are you so good to me? Mia, who raised her face at Anne's voice, answered with a lovely smile.
I'm just rewarding your loyalty.
Her answer left Anne even more confused. What have I done for you, Your Highness?
Nothing. But I know that you're deeply loyal, and so I am repaying your devotion. That's it.
I'm pretty sure I'm not that loyal as Her Highness thinks. Anne screamed inwardly. She did not come to the White Moon Palace to offer her loyalty to His Majesty the Emperor or Her Majesty the Princess. Then what is it for? It's for money. Anne came from a poor merchant family. She had 5 younger siblings, and so her parents are struggling to make ends meet. Anne's income was really a lifeline. Therefore, the increase in salary was a big welcome, but being rewarded for her non-existent loyalty, she couldn't help but feel uneasy. I'm going to lose much sleep over this. Mia smiled as if she didn't care about Anne's internal struggles at all.
So, now I want you to show your loyalty immediately.
Huh? She has no such loyalty. Anne wanted to scream, but of course she didn't dare to. Sweet moons, what is she going to ask me to do? Mia brought her face close to Anne and grinned with a childish mischievousness. Well, Mia is, after all, still a child.
Take these, and buy me some sweets and snacks from the common people, please.
Huh? It was a very adorable way of showing loyalty. Anne, who was tense just now, was caught by surprise and couldn't help but let out a laugh. With this, she screamed when she saw how much she was given. No, Your Highness, this is too much. What Mia had given was a huge gold coin called a full moon gold coin. It was the average salary of a maid for 60 days.
Oh, is that so? But I don't have other money at hand. Oh yes. Then you should buy something delicious for your family with the change.
Even if I go to the best restaurants, I still won't be able to use this up.
Oh, and from now on, call me Mia, not Princess or Your Highness.
What? That...
Then I'm counting on you. Do it as soon as possible. After all, I need sweets for my tots. A snack of the common people. I'm looking forward to it.
Mia started humming happily while Anne watched her mistress in total confusion. The Grand Library at the White Moon Palace housed the knowledge gathered throughout the Empire. Sitting at one of the wooden desks was Mia. She had her chin in her palm and she let out a dejected sigh.
It has been most unfruitful.
Mia has been in the library for the past few days. After the memory of Anne came back to her, she spent the following week reviewing her diary and organizing her memories. As a result, she finally understood that it wasn't a dream, but something that actually happened. Well, to be exact, something that is about to happen in the future, and as a result...
No, I'm not going through that again.
Mia screamed. She couldn't take being up at that guillotine again, so she was looking for a way to escape that future. This is why she is now at the library, looking up at the current state of the Tearmoon Empire. Mia remembers that the Empire's finances will deteriorate, and a famine will come. It will be followed by plague. Finally, a revolution will happen to which foreign kingdoms will assist the revolutionaries. Mia believes that's how things will play out, and by cross-referencing her past knowledge with the books in the library, her only conclusion was that
it's all too complicated.
This wasn't very surprising. She's been spoiled since she was a child. There was no way she could understand politics or economics after just leafing through some books. Mia was frustrated. She knew what was going to happen, but she didn't know what she could do about it. No matter how many sweets she ate, she still could not come up with a good idea. But at least now she understands why it is bad for one of her meals to cost as much as 1 month's salary of a common person.
It seems I have no choice but to find that man.
When she remembered Anne, she also remembered another of her loyal subjects, an excellent young civilian who worked really hard to rebuild declining empire and so, by extension, helped Mia and the imperial family. Even when Mia had lost everything, that person never abandoned her and tried his best to help her. Still,
his name isn't written anywhere here. All I can remember is that he was a terribly rude person. 4 eyes? Stupid 4 eyes? And crappy 4 eyes?
Those were what she called him. She is just realizing now that she never really called him by his name.
I can do anything if I don't know his name. I wonder if I can find clues here.
She flipped her diary again back to the first time that they met.
A fool was kicked from the capital and was sent to the countryside.
She found that small line that described him.
That's right. I think he held office here in the capital for a while. I wonder if I should go look for him.
She was thinking that maybe he was still in the imperial capital. Thinking it would be better if she acted immediately, Mia got on her feet and had Anne make arrangements for going out. Lunatir, the imperial capital of the Tearmoon Empire, was home to the 5 ministries that helped the empire in governance. The Azure Moon Ministry was the administrative agency for the capital city. The Gold Moon Ministry handled taxes. The Crimson Moon Ministry was the administrative agency for the rural areas and provinces. The Verdant Moon Ministry handled foreign diplomatic affairs. Finally, the Black Moon Ministry commanded the 7 military branches of the empire. Mia headed to the Gold Moon Ministry, which was closest to White Moon Palace. She didn't have any particular reason. After all, she wasn't thinking properly because she was under a bit of pressure trying to rebuild the empire's finances. So she was just going out following her hunch. Mia-sama, what are we doing here?
There is someone that I wish to meet.
Someone you wish to meet? You mean... No way! Anne covers her mouth as she gasps. Then she nodded, as if she understood. If you say so, then I will do my best to be of help.
Well, if you insist, I would certainly appreciate it.
Mia couldn't understand why Anne suddenly got excited, but she didn't put too much thought on her maid's behavior.
I do hope he's here.
As they were walking, they heard people arguing.
Huh?
Why is this waste going on? This will cause the empire's finances to collapse in the near future. You should know.
You're very noisy.
However,
Shut up! Why are you fusing on the details?
they are not trivial details. The Empire is.
Huh.
Mia smiles as she hears a familiar, nostalgic voice.
It seems spending all that time in the library finally paid off.
The knowledge she gained at the library has absolutely nothing to do with it. All that can be said is that Mia was a very lucky person with good fortune.
This is it for this video. We will continue with the story of the Guillotine Princess in the next episode. This was Mark of the Bureau Mexican and Brian from Jobless Whips. Matanam!